So a little bit about Dina and her what I'd like to say about her is so long that I'm going to just really keep it very short. Actually, she's got one of those amazing I lost 115 pounds on the raw food diet stories. And what I really truly love about her message is the high green diet lifestyle. So many people, when they get into raw foods and they go gourmet, they're doing it with high fat and high sugar, and it's delicious, but it's still adding to the fermentation and the candida and all of those problems. And she's doing it with high green, high sea vegetables, and that's what I'm actually striving for. So I'm really excited that she's here tonight. I think she's got a mailing list as well, and if you sign up for that, she's sending you out a recipe as a gift. So here's Dina. I'm just going to introduce her now. Dina Knight.
Thank you, Shea. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I've been speaking nonstop for the past 7 days, practically, and so my voice is a little in and out, so apologize for that. We had an 18-hour film shoot that I did for a DVD before I came here, and then this past weekend, my lovely hostess, Elizabeth Bechtold, just turned 70, and she's an awesome example of raw food in action. Excuse me. And we had a birthday party for her with over 170 people there that we catered, so it was a little crazy. And then after that, we did a 5-day green diet program, which was absolutely amazing. And we had some great participants there. What? Okay, sorry. I was like, are they talking to me? And we have a couple of people who were in the program here tonight. Royal Lynn, she was here. Yeah, she had a good time. She was my sous chef. And then after that, last night, we had Supreme Master TV came out, and they did a filming for like 12 hours. So I'm just on the end of my voice, so whatever you get tonight, I just apologize for it in advance. But hopefully the information I'm going to share is going to be worthwhile regardless. And maybe, how long are you going to be doing this series for?
Till October.
Okay, I might be back in June, so maybe we can work something out then too. And I might need to keep these cozy teas coming, just so you know. So I want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself, just so for those of you who have not visited my website. Has everybody been to the Greenivore website yet, or have you seen that? Okay. I have some videos on there about a little bit about my background and kind of how I got started. And it was about 6 years ago that I really got, I guess, full-blown into, you know, really connecting diet and health together. Because before that time, I had been a vegetarian since I was about age 13, but I wouldn't really say I was the healthiest vegetarian. I was more of a junk food vegetarian, and or a soyitarian, or, you know, it was more of the processed foods. So. And over a period of time, a lot of people, you know, they think they go vegetarian, they're going to be healthy. Oh, I'll leave the meat out, I'm going to be healthier. Not necessarily, because there's a lot of things that are vegetarian that aren't necessarily healthy for you. How many people here, by the way, are in their first year of doing raw foods, or are you totally new to raw foods? Okay. And the rest of you, have you been doing raw foods for a couple years, or is this something ongoing? A year. Okay. A year and 3 months. A year and 3 months and 2 days and 72 hours. I've been counting every minute. So, just to, excuse me, I might have to do that a couple times, just kind of come back here. So as far as what really got me inspired to, I guess, connect diet and health, it was kind of an unfortunate thing that actually got me inspired. I wish it was something like somebody else said something great and I was like, yes, I want that, you know. But it was actually, I was traveling in Ecuador, and before I left, I had this bad feeling something was happening at home. And the whole time before I had left, I just got this, you know, you get those premonitions or bad feelings, something's going on, something's not going to be right. And it was concerning my dad. And he had been a diabetic for about 12 years. And he just really didn't look too good before I left. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, what if he ends up having a heart attack? I had all these horrible things going in my head, and I was hoping that wasn't, you know, actually what was happening. But anyway, when I returned home, huh?
No, they're just in the kitchen.
Okay, sorry. I'm like, what? When I returned home from Ecuador, my sister picks me up at the airport, and she says to me, so, how was your trip? And I was like, oh, it was great. You know, I was doing some study abroad. I was studying Spanish, and I did all these fun activities and things. And she's like, oh, great. I'm so glad that you had such a good time. So, by the way, while you were gone, Dad got admitted into the emergency room having multiple heart attacks, and they want to give him a quadruple bypass tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, Mom just got diagnosed with the early stages of cervical cancer. Welcome home. So that was how I got thrown into it straight from getting off of vacation. And I tell you, it's at the same time that I was, I was worried and upset, I was also angry. There was this anger that came out of me that I was surprised at, but it was almost like, oh, I've been telling him for years, you need to take care of yourself, and da-da-da, and he wasn't listening. And I don't know if you've ever had that issue where you try to talk to a family member about eating healthier or something, and it kind of falls on deaf ears. But at the same time, you can't change everybody. Everybody has to come into it in their own way. And I realized, even for myself, that even though I thought I was being healthy, as a vegetarian and all this, and a little high and mighty on the vegetarian, role, I wasn't. And I really didn't even know that much about vegetables. But I did know that if you go and try to eat really high fat and, all that kind of stuff, that's not going to be good for you. So I went to go and see my dad in the hospital, before he was going to go have the operation. And it was just this, this overwhelming feeling of just being worried and upset and sad and really just not knowing what was going to happen. And the next morning was when he was scheduled for it. And he's like, this is, I've had multiple heart attacks. I didn't even know it. Can you imagine having a heart attack and not even knowing you had a heart attack? I mean, one of the things that happens when you have diabetes is sometimes you cannot actually feel different parts of your body properly. And so, he couldn't feel his feet for years. And so he was having heart attacks and didn't know it. And actually, this happens a lot with long-term diabetics, unfortunately. Now, I don't know if he just ignored it. Maybe he was feeling it and just ignored it and didn't want to admit it. I don't know, but he says he didn't know. Anyway, so that next morning, he's scheduled for the bypass. And the whole morning, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just had this overwhelming feeling of death, or something's really bad is happening. And at the same time that my dad is in the hospital having his operation, my best friend calls me. And her dad was admitted into hospice just a few weeks before that, having lung cancer. And he dies during the operation that my father was having. And I tell you, it was like, whoa, that could have been my dad, right then. And how precious life really is, and how much, sometimes we don't always value the people in our lives as much as we should until it's like something drastic. And I just, I really encourage you to really love your family, your kids, your parents, because you don't know how long they're going to be around. And as much as, sometimes they drive you crazy, because my father has driven me crazy my entire life, you still love them, and you still want to be there, and you want to help them. And so the operation actually didn't go very well. And when he came out of the surgery, he was he had a really bad staph infection that started to develop. And then over time, they said that possibly some metal filings may have gotten to his brain. I was hearing this, but then nobody would admit there was any kind of botching or, problems in the operation. Oh, this is standard, procedure or whatever. But my father really lost a lot of his mental capacity after that operation. So I went to go see him in the hospital the next day. And as I'm walking into the room, this guy's bringing in a cart with food on it. And I go in, I was like, oh, look, they brought you lunch. This is so exciting, they're gonna feed you. And I just was so naive as to that this was supposed to be this place of health, and they're gonna be giving you healthy foods and all this stuff. And I go and lift up the tray, and I'm shocked, because it was Swedish meatballs with gravy. And I was like, okay, there's gotta be a mistake here. You're in ICU and you just had a quadruple bypass for heart disease? and they're feeding you Swedish meatballs with gravy.